create a new object, variable my object of type object equal to, these empty places means you are constructing a new object. My object dot name equal to color. My object dot age equal to 25. My object dot game equal to baseball. And the last line is very important. I'm going to push this object into my array. My array dot push So what I have done over here is, while clicking on the button, I'm going to create a new object and I'm going to push the object into the array, which is bindable with the list control. I should have completed my button control. It should be vertical. So now I'm going to run this application. As you can see, there are 6 objects, 6 names in the list. Now I'm going to add another one. It should have been added. I can show it. We can show it with an alert over here. Alert dot show my array dot length dot toString. Okay. Now I have, after once I push the new object into the array, I have given an alert for the length of for reading the length of the array. As you can see over here, when I click modify, it shows the length of the array is 7, which means already there were 6 objects and now it's 7, but the control doesn't get any modifications over there. So you can keep on doing that. It shows 8, but the control still shows only 6 objects. Now let us change my array into array collection and let us see what's happening. What I'm going to do is just copy this array and put it into my array collection. So ID of my array collection I'm going to keep the same ID for my array collection. So there, instead of push, you have to use add item method. So now the same concept that I'm using over here, instead of array, I'm going to use an array collection. Now let us see what the output would be. So you can see the list currently displaying 6 names, and when I click on the modify, it shows 7. By the same time, the new object gets added into my list. So that's the difference between using an array as a data provider and an array collection. The same case would be there with XML also. Instead of using XML, you can use the XML list collection. But the difference between using this is, even if you specify array or XML as a data provider, I mean you are specifying a raw object for your data provider property, means Flex what does Flex do is automatically it wraps it into the array collection, but the raw object doesn't get changed once if you make any changes into that. So that's why there is no collection methodologies in the array or XML. They are all traditional data sources, so they just keep it over like that. So now let us come back to the exercise. And another one over here is another important topic that constitute the building block, constitute as a building block of list based control is item renderers. What are the item renderers? Item renderers basic functionality is it used to customize the appearance of data that you are displaying in your list based control. The custom appearance can be controlled by applying conditional logic within the item renderers, which means the item renderers design can be applied with a conditional logic, so that will be reflected in your list based controls appearance, data appearance. And as I suppose, if you are using a data grid with 6 rows and 6 columns, there is a single item renderer instance is created for each cell of the data grid. Okay, and suppose if you are using a data grid to show thousands of data, but your data grid is only showing 100 data at the front view, whether I mean it has a scroll bar, vertical scroll bar. You have your data collection, data source has 1000 data, but it's only showing 100 data at the first view, means it doesn't mean that the data grid is going to generate 1000 instances for an item renderer. It will generate only 100 or 102 instances for that purpose. That 1 or 2 extra instances will be for optimization that will be designed internally. Even you can make control over it. Okay, there it is explained. How that happens is, when you actually scroll through the data grid, instead of reconstructing, a recycling of item renderers happens. As you can see from the picture, the first data grid, which is showing only 5 items, with each cell has first list showing only 5 items. As you can see, each cell has a single instance of an item renderer, item renderer 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that. And when you scroll a single item vertically, so what happens over there is, instead of creating new instance for the row 6, it's just recycling the first instance of the cell and put it place over here. As you can see over here, the item renderer instance for the 6th row is naturally the instance of the first item renderer. So what you can ultimately achieve is performance. Instead of while you are doing a front-end application, you need to show up multiple thousands of data. In that case, item renderers will not get generated according to the number of data. And another important topic about item renderers is, what a component will make item renderer is, it should implement iData renderer interface, which means there are 2 methods that are defined in iData renderer interface: get